Today I'm going to take you through a little bit of a car sequence targeting mostly the upper body, neck, upper back, shoulder blades, and shoulders, intended to be used either before a workout or as a little bit of a movement break in the middle of the workday. So beginning with the neck, like with most cars, we're going to take a wide stance just to feel like our legs are rooted, stuck to the floor. We're feeling fairly stiff, fairly rigid through the rest of the body. And the goal with the neck is, if we use the chin kind of as a reference point, is to make as big of a circle going to the right or as big of a circle going to the left as possible. It's going to look something like this. I'll begin by slowly tucking the chin down toward the chest. Remembering that there are 7 bones in the neck, and we kind of want to picture each of those 7 bones in the neck moving forward one at a time. As we reach the end of neck flexion and the chin is near the chest, I'm going to pick a side. I'm going to go to my right, and I'm going to drag my chin across my chest toward my right shoulder, rotating my neck to the right. When I reach the end of my rotation, I'm going to laterally flex, bringing my ear over my shoulder toward my back pocket. I'm then going to start to transition my neck into extension, drawing a big line across the ceiling with my chin until now my left ear is over my left shoulder. I'll start to tuck the chin down toward the chest and drag the chin back across the chest toward the middle. We'll reset, flexing down, with a subsequent repetition seeking more range of motion than the first. Trying to max out my flexion. With flexion maxed out, going to rotate to the right. With rotation maxed out, going to laterally flex. With the lateral flexion maxed out, transitioning into extension. Imagining like I'm trying to reach the top of my head toward the wall behind me. Transitioning slowly to the other side, chin coming down toward chest, dragging back toward the middle. To program this, we'll do about 3 repetitions, maybe more if it feels good, biasing the rotation toward one side, and then 3 or so repetitions biasing the rotation toward the other side. We'll transition then into the upper back. I like to give myself a good strong bear hug. From this position, it's the same exact sequence as the neck, beginning by starting to curl forward. In this case, we now have 12 bones through the upper back, 12 vertebrae. We're going to feel like all 12 vertebrae are flexing forward. As we flexed all 12 thoracic vertebrae, we're going to rotate, kind of pulling the elbows around the ribs. As we meet the end of rotation, we're going to laterally flex, bringing the shoulder over the back of the hip. Start to transition into extension, drawing a line across the ceiling with the elbows, bringing it, the left shoulder now over the left hip, packing the elbows back down into the ribs and across to the middle there. We will again complete 3 or so repetitions, biasing the rotation to one side, 3 or so repetitions biasing the rotation the other side. Like with all cars, try to seek more range of motion with each subsequent pass. If you can't seek more range of motion, try to improve the quality of the motion that you are initiating. We'll transition now toward the shoulder blade. The shoulder blade, we're going to train from multiple different planes of motion. Always a good starting point is just hands at the hips, okay? But we can do with the arm extended straight in front. We could do it with the arm overhead. We could do it at angles away from the body. But to start again, we'll do so hands on the hips. I'm going to turn perpendicular to the camera here, as what we want to see is the shoulder blade move forward around the rib cage into what's called protraction. We want to see the shoulder blade move up toward the ears into what's called elevation. We want to see the shoulder blade move back, what's called retraction, and then we want to see the shoulder blade move down in what's called depression. So I'll do both sides at once. You'll just see this side of my body facing the camera. I'm going to push the shoulder blades forward, kind of squeezing through my pecs as I move that shoulder blade around the front of the rib cage. Maintaining that protracted position, I'm going to elevate the shoulder blades as far as I can toward the ears. So I right now feel squeezed through my pecs and my traps. I'm going to attempt to maintain the height of the shoulder blade, that elevated position, as I pull the shoulder blades straight back, in some ways trying to squeeze them together behind my back. As they're fully retracted now, I'm going to push the shoulder blades down into my back pocket, then move them forward, elevate, retract, depress. Can do it in reverse. I could start, for example, by retracting, then elevating, then protracting, then depressing, retracting, elevating, protracting, depressing. If I change the plane, the motion is still the same. In this case, with my arm straight in front of me, a cue I want to think about is that my torso is relatively locked down, my elbow is going to stay locked out, and the motion is going to come just the shoulder blade around the ribs. There won't be any flaring of the shoulder, any bending of the elbow, or at least I'll try to mitigate those as much as possible. So in this case, I'm going to push straight forward into protraction, elevate the shoulder blade maximally, retract the shoulder blade maximally, depress the shoulder blade maximally, protract. Or I could start by retracting, elevating, protracting, depressing, retracting. Like the other cars, 3 to 4 sequences per side. Bias the rotation perhaps toward protraction a couple of times, then to retraction, or think about it, relative to what may be clockwise or counterclockwise motion. In either case, a few repetitions in each direction. Last but not least, the shoulder. The shoulder, we're going to start nice wide base again. We'll start with the palm facing away from the body, the elbows locked out, torso is somewhat rigid, and we're going to reach across the body to what's called adduction. From adduction, I'm going to start to transition the shoulder slowly to a full overhead position. From full overhead, I'm going to start to initiate internal rotation on the shoulder. To do so, I'm going to begin to turn the palm away from the body and try to feel some of that rotation coming from my shoulder joint. As I do that, I'm going to start to reach behind my body. I'm going to continue to internally rotate, kind of thinking of the shoulder like a towel that's being twisted to wring out water. So as I internally rotate and extend, I am wringing out that towel, continuing to internally rotate all the way until my hand faces away from my hip. My palm faces away from my hip. I can reverse that motion, reaching straight back into shoulder extension, at which point I'm going to take out rotation completely, slowly again, transition the shoulder to a full overhead position, then slowly turning the palm toward the sky, reaching across the body again, bringing the arm back down to its original starting position. We'll do 3 or 4 repetitions into flexion, then 3 or 4 repetitions into extension. Some nice cues there. Consider grabbing a ball, tennis ball, lacrosse ball, something like that, that you can squeeze quite hard, as that will irradiate more force through the arm, okay? And help to create stronger contraction in the target tissue by the shoulder. Sometimes the act of gripping something really hard will help you feel like you either improve the range of motion, in some cases kind of the quality of motion as you progress through that exercise.